Hey guys, it's Nova. Real quick, as I get into this, I do have the AC running in the next room over. It's very hot and humid here right now. Well, it's not hot, but it's humid, which makes everything awful. So I've got that running to keep everything cool so I can comfortably record and all that. So if you hear that, I will do my best to edit out the noise, but it may just exist in the background there. So just a heads up. So, alright, this time we're gonna discuss something that I keep seeing in a cycle, and boy, am I getting so sick of it. As usual nowadays, I have most often seen it on TikTok, at least recently, and honestly, it's an age-old issue. Art style bashing. It's art style bashing. You've read the title, it's art style bashing. Now, real quick, before we get into the actual subject, let's talk about the art a little bit. This character that you're seeing on screen with me working on, it's another character from the same project as the last two, and I've been calling the project Practically Magic, and I really like everybody's design so far. This is Shay. She is an orc paladin. She is very specifically a paladin. She is also a higher up in the guild that they're in. Now, being a higher up, that's why she's wearing purple in the final image, you'll see, because paladins wear blue usually, mages usually wear red, and then higher ups tend to wear purple. And I kinda liked that because a lot of times the guild's name is Dawn and Glory, and in Morning Glory flowers, you have, a lot of times you'll have blues and reds and purples very prominently, so I thought it was neat. And also, if you're a higher up, you're keeping an eye on things among both, so I thought it would be nice to have people higher up wearing purple, so both colors combined. So I really like that idea, and it's something that I'm sticking with, and I really like it, and I really like how Shay turned out. She's a very tough character, but she's also a sweetheart, and she's one of these that doesn't tend to look down on others. She likes to find the best and the strengths of each individual person in her guild and around her. I really like her. I think next I might maybe draw her husband. I'm not sure. I also need to draw her sister and her sister's wife. So I do need to draw them as well. There's a lot of characters that I still need to draw for this. But of course, I might dabble into drawing characters from some of my other projects or my fan characters. We'll see how that goes. But now that I've talked about the art a little bit, let's get back into the topic. So, like I said, it's art style bashing. I have seen this absurd nonsense ever since I was a middle schooler on DeviantArt. And look, when I say I was a middle schooler on DeviantArt, I'm talking this is not long after DeviantArt was established, okay? Like, I was introduced to DeviantArt essentially through clicking stuff on Quizilla and ending up on DeviantArt, because links would go to DeviantArt where people had posted pictures for the end of, like, their Quizilla stories or stuff like that. Like, for one thing, I remember Quizilla, but I digress. To give you an idea of just what I mean when I say ages ago on DeviantArt. And look, I know there are a lot of cyclical topics like this in the art community especially, but the style bashing one has always gotten under my skin in a very particular way. There's a few different reasons that the bashing really, really bothers me, but the key ones behind why it really irks me are that, at least when it comes to art and style, good and bad are subjective. Extremely subjective. Honestly, just about everything in art is subjective. I mean, good grief, there are some, like, well-known paintings and stuff like that have horrible proportions, very interesting styles, but they're all valuable and people like them because art is a subjective medium. It's a subjective thing to create, just like with music. But not only that, art style in particular can also be a very personal thing to the artist, and that's the other thing that really bothers me about style bashing. So, first off, I have to ask, why anymore is it always TikTok? Seriously, I think this is the third video I've done where the issue recently emerged specifically there. Pretty sure it's the third. It's the third or the fourth. I feel like that SpongeBob meme. You know, the whole, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Kind of meme. That is how I feel at this point with this stupid site. And that's why I don't really engage on TikTok. And it's really frustrating in a way that just gets to me. It also gives me idea of a future video to do, but I digress. Chicken scratch, jelly art style, beginner artist, typical styles, realism, hyperrealism. Really, why is that one that everybody's having a problem with? I get it's not everybody's taste, but come on, man. Realism and hyperrealism and even semi-realism, those have all been prominent styles for a while now. And I kind of think that bashing those in particular, I'm just over here like, what? Why? Why? Especially because that takes a particular level of detail orientation and skill that I currently do not have, which is one reason why I think it's fascinating and wonderful, but I don't understand the bashing of them. Again, I get it's not to everybody's taste, but why? Why are we bashing realism? I do not understand. But another one is corporate art styles, and okay, I kind of get that one. I am that person who, whenever I'm having to do a training at work and I've got to go through those stupid little slideshows and the stupid little videos with the stylized stuff that is so out of proportion and ridiculous, they do it in trainings too nowadays, not just in like corporate advertisements. Like, I kind of get why everybody's agitated about that one, but I still don't get the bashing for that one. And I have criticized that kind of art myself, but still, we don't really need to bash it, okay? But these styles are honestly just a handful of the ones that I see bashed like crazy on TikTok. Also, this is just a question I have to ask real quick with this. What the heck is a pro shipper art style? I've seen that applied to just any cutesy chibi-ish style. Why? Like, I'm not getting into the, I am not particularly getting into or asking what pro shippers are. I understand that one already. I am staying out of that discourse and away from it because I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. However, I get really tired of somebody with a specific style and you know what? It's been like 50 different styles that I've seen accused of this. People go, oh, you have a pro shipper art style. I'm not talking to you. I don't have to listen to anything you say because anything you say has no worth because you use a pro shipper art style. And I've seen it applied to like 7 or 8 different styles at this point. Come on, y'all. For one thing, at least be consistent. Second, what the heck? Why? What is it? It just, it's just dumb. I don't get it. But getting into the deeper meat of the topic, the one that I'm really going to focus on in regard to a specific style to mess with is the chicken scratch. I see this one get bashed all the time. It's both used all the time and bashed all the time. And the bashing of it absolutely gets on my last ever loving nerve. Like, I see no reason to bash it. Scratchy sketching, and this is not just because that I use it in my sketching. Because I use more so chicken scratch drawing whenever I'm sketching. It is how I draw, it is the way that I draw and do things. I just feel more comfortable doing it. But there's really no point in bashing it. It's not only useful, common, and how plenty of people develop their art skills, acting like it's bad and spreading the misconception that drawing like that at all, because I've seen that take, that drawing like that at all is overall an inherent negative, that can get to the point of not only being kind of, for one thing, dumb and ridiculous, but it can kind of get a little ableist when you really look at it, because it is. And, like, look, I'm gonna be blunt. Completely able-bodied people are not the only ones who draw and create, and that fact makes me really want to touch on the ableism problem. Because there's plenty of people who use a style like that is more accessible because it's easier and more comfortable for them to draw, People draw and create who have disabilities. You've got people who have full-blown disabilities, you've got hand tremors, you've got things like Parkinson's disease or neurological problems that cause issues with hand-eye coordination. And they may use that kind of method of drawing and sketching and anything that's not super fluid and smooth. They might use that to work on their art because it's more comfortable or easy for them. Should they be looked down on because they're using a certain thing? Or are we going to start gatekeeping it where, you can only use this if you're you have certain and you have a particular disability or something like that? That's ridiculous. I think that, we should let people practice how they enjoy. And it's one of those things that these same people may use other tools or methods for their finished pieces. A great example of that is the stabilizer tool. It's not something I use a lot, but it is something that a lot of people who may not have as steady a hand for reasons they can't control use a lot, or even people who just want to use a stabilizer tool because it makes it a bit easy for them. There's not a problem with that. And for sketching in early stages, even though they're not using those for finished pieces, even though they're using those for finished pieces, I can't talk. Maybe using chicken scratch for early stages of drawing and for sketching. So why act like something that might be easier for someone is bad? And even taking ableism out of the equation, why are we having hissy fits and bashing things that are both personal preference as well as a technique that beginners use while they're learning to be more confident in their lines? Why do we bash these things that beginners go through? Because they're going to go through them and usually they're going to get past it regardless. We don't have to bash them for it. It's ridiculous how some people do. Quick drawing and sketching in a messier manner, which again, like I do, is also a way to practice gesture drawing or get ideas down fast. Like say your brain's running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're trying to work on something, but another idea keeps popping in your head, and you need to at least get something down on paper, even if it's sketchy, scratchy, and you're the only one who can interpret it. You need to get something down on paper for it fast, just to get it out of your head, so you can keep working on the particular project you're working on. Much like tracing, chicken scratch, it has its uses in learning as well as practical applications and techniques. There's some people who use it because they like it aesthetically. They like how it looks. They like the less even lines. It's something that some people do use because they like it. And it's also helpful for even just rough concepting. I have to ask, what is with people decrying practices most often used or practiced by beginners having fun? I know I mentioned this, but I have to bring it up again. Seriously, can we just stop belittling beginner practices or talking down about people learning? It's at a point of absolute ridiculousness. It feels like the art community version of young people / beginners do it? Thing bad! That's how it feels. They belittle it, they call it unprofessional, unclean, or a crutch, even when it's used only for sketching and not in the final project, and not in the final piece. Why is the way that people sketch something to decry because you don't visually like it? And even beyond being used as a technique, some people, like I said, just have a preference for drawing that way. Art style in particular is so often a matter of personal preference and taste. Many people draw that way because they like to draw that way. I sketch that way because I like to sketch that way. People create the way they enjoy creating. And I know that enjoying art and art styles is also a matter of personal preference and taste. But that doesn't mean we have to start bashing people for creating and enjoying things that we don't like. And please don't start the "it's just criticism, constructive criticism and advice" argument. Look, talking down to people and attacking things just because you don't like them, like you visually don't like them, is not equal to constructive criticism. I'm sorry, it's not. I am so tired of hearing that excuse for people being downright nasty to other people. Criticism is fine. Criticism is totally fine. However, being nasty or cruel to others is not. There's so much negativity in the world, and the art community even, on its own. There's so much negativity already. Why does everyone just want to add to it? Why is everyone so eager to tear other people down and to hurt others. I don't know if it's the way I was raised or what, but I would rather do my best to lift others up. It does so much more for the community as a whole and just for people. And I know, like I said, it maybe have to do with something that I was raised with. And it is something that largely comes from a saying that my pawpaw would frequently use when I was younger. I heard it all through my life. And that was, it costs nothing to be nice. I grew up hearing it constantly, and I try my best to live by it. Now, let me just say, you don't have to allow yourself to be a doormat. That's not what it means. What it really comes down to is that you don't gain anything, really, from being needlessly cruel or mean to others. If you're mean or you're a jerk, you're all but guaranteed to harm someone. You don't really gain something from that, you just harm someone. The only gain you have is taking away someone else's peace, which is ridiculous. You're guaranteed to harm someone or ruin their day or something to that effect. But if you're nice, if you put that little bit of positivity out into the world, you never know who you'll affect or who you'll reach who really needed that little piece of positivity and that little piece of light in their life. When you do your best to be someone who isn't attacking others and being nice to people, it can have a profound impact that you don't expect. And I think I'm going to have to use a story time another time to kind of illustrate my point with that, because there was one instance that I encountered at my first job where that really came into play. But that's about all I have to say on the art style bashing, and just, can we stop? Can we please stop with the bashing, please? Like, I'm begging y'all, please. It's so frustrating. What do you guys think about it? Do you guys think it's just as ridiculous as I do, or do you have a different outlook on it? If you do have a different outlook, let's discuss it down in the comments. I'm totally open to hearing other perspectives, and I think it would be nice to have an actual discussion about it. Now, again, no nastiness. No nastiness. Like I said in this, you don't gotta be nasty to people. Discussions will be civil, or they will not exist. That's all I have to say. But I really want to hear your guys' takes on it, or if there's anything else going on in the art community that maybe I haven't come across that you want to hear my opinions on. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!